If you know, you know. If you don't, well, you'll understand after you see the movie. Baka, hey, Manga Tuesday. It's Manga Tuesday, episode 99. I'm the DRC, and today we shall be reviewing Jackass Forever, because just calling it Jackass 4 wasn't good enough for Mr. Johnny fucking Knoxville. I've been a Jackass fan since I was like 12 at least, and I've always owned the first two movies on DVD, so I've probably watched those two the most, but I've seen all of them and all the 0.5s. And just a week or so ago, I re-watched Jackass 1, 2, and 3, not the 0.5s, in preparation for the newest installment, Jackass 4. Ever. For some reason, neither of the two cinemas near me were airing Jackass 4, so I had to drive nearly 2 hours to go watch it. And in case you don't believe me, for all the naysayers and conspirators out there saying that I haven't seen the movie, here's a picture of me with my cock out, mid-piss, right before I went and bought my small popcorn and bottle of OJ. So there's your proof, so take that! Expect this review to be very long and rambling, but I think you people know what to expect by now. So let's get into it as I discuss the negatives and the positives and just my general thoughts on Jackass 4. I'm going to try to not get too spoilery with it for those of you who haven't watched the film yet. And that sort of leads me to the first point. I think the trailers of the movies revealed too much of the movie. I've seen a lot of people saying when the trailers come out, they're a little worried that maybe they're revealing too much, and then once people started seeing it, that sentiment was also being repeated again, that man, way too much of the movie was revealed in the trailers, and after seeing it myself, I would have to agree, and I think it did hamper my enjoyment of some scenes a little bit. I just think it would have been better if I didn't know so much. The surprise of seeing scenes for the very first time, they would have hit a lot harder. And I think this problem is partially on me because I watched the first trailer and then there was a second trailer. I watched them both multiple times, so many times to the point where I had them just memorized by heart, basically. And I was watching fucking anything on fire. There's some fucking 10-second Brazilian YouTube trailer that showed 2 seconds of extra footage from a bit that hadn't been revealed yet. I was seeing it. So that's partially my fault. If you haven't seen any trailers for the movie, or maybe you saw the first trailer once, like a few months ago, I would recommend do not watch any more trailers. Avoid trailers and just go see the movie, and you'll have a better experience. And that just might be a lesson in general for myself. If I know I'm going to watch a movie, I should probably avoid watching the trailers. Also, this is the first Jackass film that I've ever watched in theaters, so it is a very different experience. I think the next thing I should discuss, because it is such a big part of this new film, there is a lot of cock and ball torture-esque stunts. Far more than any of the previous 3 films. And they were far more extreme and also like graphic. Like in previous movies you have something like The Puppet Show where Pontius is sticking his dick through a hole for it to get bit by a snake, but he had like a mouse costume on his penis. In this film, for all the fucking dick and ball stuff, it's just close up, super HD camera close up of cock and balls. Me personally, I was never a big fan of the cock and ball pain parts of the previous Jackasses. Some are okay, like if it's Knoxville just pretending to scratch his leg and then whipping around a hook kick to Wee Man's balls before they search for a snake. Hilarious. Love it. But if it's something like the ball bookmark that was a bonus feature on the Jackass 2 DVD, and it's probably in Jackass 2.5, I guess, I can't remember, but the ball bookmark, if you don't know what it is, I feel like the name, the ball bookmark, sums it up. That is like the worst thing. It's like the only Jackass bit I couldn't watch and just really made me until this movie. There's some in this movie that are just as bad, if not worse, than the ball bookmark. I never liked the ice horse either. That was one that's like, so if you're like me and you're not the biggest fan of cock and ball torture, be warned, there is a lot of it in this movie, and it is very graphic with a lot of close-up shots. I was squirming in my seat in the theatre a lot, and like the people behind me to the left probably had a clear view of me, probably thought I was insane. One of the worst examples, I think, is the pogo stick cup test. All the other cup tests they did were fine. A little, make you grimace, but that's kind of the point. But the pogo stick, I did not want to see. And I did not want to see a close-up slow-mo replay of it. And I do not ever want to see that again. I don't even want to hear about the fucking actual damage it did. I didn't want to see the damage it did when he started pulling his balls out after it. And just talking about it makes me a little uneasy. But apparently, Aaron has had a kid since then, so I guess his balls still work. So that's good to know at least. There's another scene that I sort of heard some little murmurings about, and I started to get an idea of something, but I didn't really know the full extent of it, or if it was even in the movie, but it was making me very nervous. I was very concerned that it was going to be really traumatic and something I did not want to see. I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't seen the movie, so I would recommend muting the video or blocking your ears until I unblock mine just for the next 5 seconds or so. Because I'm going to just say one thing that'll give it away to those who have seen the movie. But Pontius, it's time for your 3 p.m. dick flattening. I sort of got the sense that something like that would be happening, but I had no idea how, and I was like, I don't... But then when it actually happened in the movie, it was actually... I was actually okay with it. It was actually creative and humorous, and I mean, it was just a very unique premise, and definitely caught me off guard. I was not expecting that to go down like that, and that's what that's all about. And you can actually see in the credits that Dave England and Poopies do it as well. It still makes me a little, like, but it was really creative and just simple, but nice. And that leads me to another point. Well, I did find that Pontius bit very creative. I found, like, in general, perhaps, for the whole movie, that's something that was lacking, like a sense of, I don't know, creativity or uniqueness, or something that made bits stand out that, a lot of things were lacking some sort of theme or something that made it unique. Like, they're going down a big fucking water slide, and yeah, they'll take some slams, I guess, but I don't know, there's not much to it, it's just kind of, meh. I do think, just in general, something felt slightly off. And it is sort of hard to put my finger on why exactly. I think missing band's presence is a factor, but I think there's a lot of other things and reasons, and I guess that's what I'm going to try and dive into and discuss. I know it seems like I'm being pretty negative, but I want to say I really did enjoy the film. It's just maybe I had a lot higher expectations, like they were very high. But I do think this one is definitely the worst of the now 4 films. That doesn't mean it sucks. I fucking love the first 3 films to a very high degree. It's just, I don't think this one comes close. And it's just crazy to me that I saw some people saying, I think this might be my favourite out of all the films. I'm like, I think that's a gross overcompensation, because they've seen some people shitting on it saying, fuck this, where's fucking Bear, and fuck. They're gonna go the other extreme and be like, this is actually the best Jackass, guys. Anyways, why don't I talk about the new cast briefly? Yes, this movie has added some new people to the main cast of Jackasses, which is a polarizing decision. Poopies seems to be getting the most praise, and I would tend to agree. I think I like him the most. I don't think he necessarily did the gnarliest stunts or whatever by far or anything, but I think just his vibe, he just seemed to fit in with all the rest of the original cast the best. Zach is probably the next best. He'll do some hardcore shit. He didn't talk like that much, didn't show off his personality that much, I don't feel like, but he's also just looks like a larger than life character. He sort of has a lot of personality in just his appearance, and that sort of carries him a long way. Jasper's fine, I guess, but he gets outshined by his dad. This Eric guy that I've never heard of is pretty forgettable. He doesn't do that much, and the stuff that he does do is a lot of like group stuff, and he just sort of fades into the background. He does a couple of things like completely by himself, but they're like fucking 10-second stunt that's like filler in between the bigger skits. He just doesn't really say much or really have any sort of memorable personality. He's just sort of there sometimes, and often you won't even notice he's there because he could be that forgettable. And you got Rachel Wolfson or whatever, the female that they added. She also does not do much. She has a couple of big bits that she's a part of, but she doesn't really do much in them. I mean, one of them was the Quiet Game, so she's literally not allowed to speak. But the other one, she didn't say much either. And I think she's supposed to be a stand-up comedian. And for a stand-up comedian, she wasn't very funny. She didn't have many very funny little quips in between stuff or anything. So I guess she's just like most stand-up comics. Take that, stand-up comics. Knock you stupid assholes down a peg. But yeah, I mean, she doesn't do much. And she's also like, she's just sort of kind of just standing there awkwardly in the background of some skits, not saying really anything, and when she does say something trying to be funny, it's generally not very funny, and she definitely just seems like the one that fits in the least out of all the new cast. She's kind of hot, I guess, so she's got that going for her. I feel like maybe the new cast also didn't take enough like hardcore bumps, so to speak. Like you would say they bring these new guys in to take some of the more physical hard bumps and stuff that the original guys are maybe getting too old to do. I mean, I guess the new cast did do some of that, but it feels like they could have done more, like stepped it up more and really proved themselves. I know some people are speculating that they're going to try and continue the Jackass franchise and sort of push the new guys into the forefront more and maybe completely phase the old guys out until it's just a brand new cast that can carry the franchise on, which I think if that is the plan, I think it's a bad plan, and I don't think it would work. I think it would people would lose interest and things would just fizzle out. Jackass isn't just about doing things that hurt or doing things that are gross. It's about the friendships and the camaraderie of the people that are doing them. I mean, you had 3 seasons of a TV show of these guys doing shit together before the fucking movies, and even before the TV show, they had, you know, a lot of them with the Big Brother magazine or whatever, and then you had Bam and Dunn and some for fucking CKY that have been friends for fucking ever, and these bonds can't just be forced, and they're an integral, important part of what makes Jackass Jackass. Now, if they plan to make a new movie and, you know, keep all of the old cast there and have the new cast just to sort of, like I said, do more of the physical stuff, you know, I think that could be a working formula, but you gotta keep the OGs at the forefront. If you're gonna try and push these new guys on us, people are going to reject it. And a lot of the guys, like Poopies and Jackass, I think were scouted and got into the movie because they were so inspired, big fans of Jackass, and they used to still make some like Jackass-style hardcore stunts and shit. Which makes me think, fuck! I should have started throwing myself through shit like 5 years ago and filming it and put it on YouTube, and maybe I could be in Jackass Forever. Oh, I need to be in Jackass 6 times the charm. By then I can cement myself. I'm going to bury myself in cement and get someone to push me off a roof and it'll explode. Anyways, a lot of people are praising Danger Ehren for his performances in Jackass 4 and saying he is the star of the movie. And a lot of them are even saying, oh, Ehren's my favourite now, because they're all a bunch of bandwagoning cunts. I am on record as saying Ehren was always my favourite, even when it wasn't the cool, hip thing to do on r/Jackass. I will say my favourite Jackass member is Danger Ehren. Ehren McGehee. Mr. Danger Ehren. But yeah, I mean, Ehren does some hardcore shit in it. The cop test, took a lot of balls. But he's done hardcore shit in the other movies. Like, he did, let's not forget the Lamborghini Toothful. But I do think, yeah, he has a lot of some of the best bits of this new movie. It really justifies me having always had him as my favourite Jackass. Also just wanted to quickly mention Wee Man also, I feel like stepped his game up, did a lot more and stuff that I wouldn't expect him to necessarily do previously. Also, when I was rewatching the part of the Q&A where I was rambling about Jackass and why I like Aaron, I can't believe I didn't mention one of my favourite Aaron McGee quotes from the credits of Jackass 2 when they're on the mini motorbikes in the supermarket and he's after the big collision he's like, Dave, you knocked out my tooth again. Epic. Speaking of credits, the end credits for Jackass 4 suck. I'm just being blunt and honest. For the most part, I fucking hated them. The credits have always been fucking amazing for all the other Jackass movies. It's just like a massive compilation of epic stunts and shit that didn't make the movie. Some of the shit was so good in the previous ones, it's like, yo, I almost feel like that should have made the movie, but they were amazing. So much good shit, a few little funny little quips included in them, and fucking epic music that is just ingrained in my brain. A fucking 3-6 Mafia song from the Jackass 2 credits. It's just these two things, or the CKY song, Flesh in the Gear, into I think the Jackass 1 credits. These are just, oh, if I hear that music on its own, I could just picture all the stunts that were in the credits. They're just intertwined and it's fucking awesome. I love them so much. And I was hyped, very excited to see the Jackass 4 credits, and I felt like they were a big letdown. I know so far I've been very critical of the entire movie, but it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a lot. But the credits were legitimately a massive letdown. They start off with some stunts, there was some stuff, but there wasn't many like stunts that were in there. A lot of it was just like little offhanded quips and talking, which isn't terrible, I like that, but some of that could have just been chucked in the movie and there was just too much of it. Like the end credits was mostly like just a mass compilation of stunts and bumps and shit that didn't make the movie, but there just wasn't that many in the credits. I don't want to fucking see the dudes reacting to the reveal that the bad grandpa prank was a fucking prank with their lame ass uninteresting reaction. And then for the final bit, they're sort of doing homage to older stunts. They sort of start showing a lot of side-by-sides of like Knoxville getting hit by a bull and then him getting hit by a bull in the new movie, or like Dave shitting in the toilet and then the toilet thing he does in this movie. And it's like, I mean, they kind of did something similar in Jackass 3 where they, at the very end, they showed them sort of pictures of him when younger and clips of him when they were younger, and I liked it in that one, but the one in the new movie, I don't know, I just wasn't clicking with it, especially since there hadn't really been anything epic up into that point in the credits, and then it's like, oh, now we're up to the part where we're just showing old clips and homage to the past, and it's like, oh. There is a Ryan Dunn tribute, kind of, towards the end of these showing old clips. They show a clip of Ryan, and at the very end they show a few more clips, but then they're all just clips of him for this one thing when he's riding around on that motorized like wheelchair thing, which is fine, it was funny, it was great, but I feel like they could have done more. I would have preferred it if that entire last song of the credits was all just old Ryan Dunn clips, like a full 3.5 to 4 minutes or whatever of just Ryan Dunn, and then you can end it with Ryan Dunn forever. Also, in that Ryan Dunn wheelchair chip, this was pointed out to me later, I didn't notice it at the time, Bam is actually in one of those clips and actually blur his face out. It's like, come on, listen, I know, hey, they were all friends with Ryan, but Ryan and Bam were clearly best friends, and it's kind of fucked up to actually use a clip that he's in and blur his face out when there seems to be no reason why they had to, because Bam is in the movie, by the way. In case you didn't know, probably should have said this at the start, but Bam was kicked off the movie because of reasons, you know, I'm not going to go into that, you can look it up, but he was kicked off the movie, so he's not going to be in the movie, but he did film a bunch of stuff, most of which was cut. I don't know how much he actually filmed, but it was one full stunt bit that he is in, clearly, the marching band stunt, and you can see him, he's clearly there. They don't focus on him, they sort of try and cut him out as much as they can, but he's there and credited in the credits. There may be some other scenes where you can see him in the background. I saw some people saying like, oh, I think I can see his arm in the background of this stunt in the background somewhere, or hear his voice for one or two. I'm not really sure, but the only clear sort of him is in the marching band. But in that stunt, he's there, you see his face, he's not blurred, so why would they need to blur out some old footage of him fucking around with Ryan Dunn? It's just kind of fucked up and weird. And yeah, as a whole, the end credits were a pretty big letdown, when usually they are a pretty big highlight. They're a great way to cap off all the Jackass movies. They have fucking epic credit scenes, but this one was not it. I also felt like there was a lack of vomit throughout the movie, which has always been a staple of Jackass, whether you like it or not. I'm all for it. But I think the only vomiting throughout the entire movie is Lance the cameraman a couple of times starts to vomit, but he has a mask on, so you can't even see if he's actually vomiting or he's just sort of like about to. So until we get up to the final stunt, the Vomitron, which based off the name alone and the initial premise does seem like it's going to be a glorious display, a big vomit fest to cap off a film that was lacking in vomit. But quite honestly, there wasn't even really much vomit in the Vomitron. Definitely no like real hearty, nice, thick chunk, proper explosion vomit. It was none of that. It was a bit of fucking Jasper's a retard who can't drink milk and sort of spit, wasn't even getting it down to begin with, just spitting out milk out of his mouth. Yeah, I just would have personally preferred less cock and ball torture and more vomiting. One cock and ball torture I didn't mention was they used Preston's balls as a boxing bag for a miniature thing that I didn't need to see that. I will admit that was itself creative and sort of unique, had a creative premise, but I didn't like it, and I didn't like that they made him do it again. But as me, you might love that shit. I'll say this. I would be interested and hope that they do another film, but if they do a Jackass 5, they have to get Bam involved, whatever it takes. He's essential to it, and doing this one without him doesn't feel quite right. The way some of them are talking, it does seem like they are more open than ever to doing a Jackass 5. I know Knoxville personally himself has said he won't do any big, physical stunts anymore, which I think is probably for the best. And he doesn't need to. I mean, there's plenty of other shit he can do. You gotta get a crab to rip your ear off. And in this movie, one of the big stunts he does, the bull, he gets really fucked up from, and I heard about it in interviews he was saying before the movie coming out. Broken wrist, broken rib, brain hemorrhages, was fucked up for weeks or months, like potential permanent life-altering fucking implications. Seeing him get hit by the bull and he was out cold, I don't know, it was less enjoyable than usually. Usually if he gets hit by a bull, he gets up and he'll wince in pain and might leave him limp off, but he's mostly fine. He limps away laughing and it's all a merry old time. But, when he gets this seriously fucked up, especially at his age now, I don't know, it's a little legitimately concerning. That's what I think the new guys, if they're coming in, that's what they need to do. They need to put poopies in front of a bull and make him get flipped up. She'll be fine. Anyways, like I sort of said before, I've been discussing the negatives a lot, and I don't know why. I guess it's just because I have such a high expectation, a high bar set for Jackass. But let me just quickly mention some of my favourite bits from the movie. I fucking love the Silence of the Lambs bit. I won't say too much about these because I don't want to spoil them, because like I said, the spoilers are bad. Don't watch the trailers if you haven't already, just watch the film. The Silence of the Lambs is great. I love the Quiet Game. Once again, it is one of the ones that I felt was creative and unique and had a nice theme and presence. A basic one. They're dressed as mimes and they have to do something painful and try to remain quiet. It's a simple premise, but it is unique and creative and is a nice theme for the bits. It makes it memorable in a way a lot of the other bits I feel like didn't have, that were lacking a little bit, But Poopy's one for the Quiet Game and Steve-O's one. Oh, the human ramp I felt was great, and I think it really showed them clicking and connecting. They were just hanging out, having fun, and it was a great, compilation montage bit to open the movie after the opening credits, which are incredible, of course. The lie detector with Erin, was great and was very legitimately tense. The Pontius bit I talked about earlier that I didn't want to spoil is one of my favourite parts of the movie. The spider helmets thing I like too. But now back to negatives. Let me just briefly mention some of my least favourite stuff. The pogo stick. Me no like. Preston's balls getting boxed. Me no like. The underwater fart. I don't know, it was just kind of lame. I don't really care for it. The dirty dancing bit was just kind of sad, really. I know. The bicycle backhand was fucking lame. You're just getting hit by the big giant hand and knocked into a pool. Like, that just sounds like a fun time. Oh, and the fucking power line prank with Knoxville was fucking shit. And it smelt really fugazi, like, ugh. And the Irving one wasn't much better really either. Anyways, I think the point is I enjoyed the film. I didn't enjoy it as much as I'd hoped I would. Something just felt slightly off. I don't know really what it was. Was it just missing Bam and Dunn changed the dynamic that much? I don't know. Also, I forgot to mention, why wasn't Loomis in the movie? I really thought he would be, and then he was at the red carpet premiere, he was with the guys, so I really expected that Loomis would be there just in the background of some sorts or something, but he wasn't, which was weird. Maybe that's what wasn't quite right about the movie. Maybe that's what was off about it, the little nagging thing in my brain. It was Loomis, the lack of Loomis. He's the missing link. He was needed to tie the whole film together. Nosferatu! Movie did also seem short. I think all the Jackass movies, though, when you get to the end, feel a little short. But I've heard there's going to be a 4.5 that apparently has heaps of radical shit. So I hope they didn't, like, fucking skillet the fucking end credits of Jackass 4 just so they had content for 4.5. Because, like, hey, the main focus here is 4. If shit that's in the end credits of 4 is in 4.5, who fucking cares? They probably did that with all the 0.5s. I can't really fucking remember. Anyways, I should probably wrap things up because I'm just going to be repeating myself, rambling the same points I've basically already made, just trying to make them in a better way, but just failing to do so and just repeating myself using basically the same words. For a rating, I'd give Jackass 4 a 7 out of 10. Very solid movie. Some very, very, very enjoyable parts. If you love the cock and ball torture parts of Jackass, you will probably absolutely love it. Probably will still be your least favourite of the Jackass films. Just don't expect it to reach the heights of the original 3. But if you go in with tempered expectations, if you go in with a love for ball pain, and you go in having not seen too many trailers too often, I think you will very much enjoy yourself. But even still, if you enjoy the pogo stick, you're a sick bastard. Also, if you like vomiting, there will not be enough of it to satisfy you. Side note, my all-time favourite Jackass film is Jackass 2. And if I was to rank all of them, I would put number 1 in the second place spot, and I would put number 3 third, and now Forever I would put in the 4th spot. Jackass 2 hits that perfect sweet spot between the rawness of Jackass 1 and the super strong camaraderie of Jackass 3 and sort of the elevation of stunts, and it's that perfect in-between that really just nails everything so well. And never forget, I like Danger Erin before any of you, so go fuck yourself, fucking dicks. Yeah. Anyways, I feel like there was some more points I wanted to make, but I'm drawing a blank. So I guess this overly long episode should just finally come to a close. Just watching back over everything while editing, I feel like I focus way too much on the negative. So I just want to say I do really enjoy this movie, and I feel like it's probably going to grow on me even more when I get to rewatch it again. But it still is my least favourite of all the Jackass movies. But the first 3 were so fucking great. It was such a high bar that you can't really expect it. They're so much older now. It's been so many fucking years, and 2 of the biggest players weren't a part of it. So, you know, things are different. So, bada bing, bada boom. So thanks for watching. And as always, safety first. I ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I know enough to know if you
upon a time in Memphis, Tennessee, I was riding through the projects with that work on me. Gonna pick a crunchy black to get tattoos on our back. Me and Get High Chris, we were